Welcome to Monday Night Live, the weekly training that guides professionals to financial prosperity. Join our community and let's start building your wealth.
In any case, guys, tonight Christian Petroza is in our Honey Badger group. Okay, and the person who brought him in was underneath me. Has left, and so Christian and I have been working together since for quite a while now. And he's actually doing quite well for a newer agent. In the way the market has been, particularly 2024 and so far 2025, it's a low volume market. First one we haven't seen it this low in 30 years. So Christian has routinely has closings, and just like you, he always wants to have more, but he actually has them coming in, and he's been using ReallyFlow to lead source and out of VA, doing the letters and the phone calls, but he cut out the letter part. So, in any case, I want to stop there because I want Christian to really fill you guys in and share with you what he's been doing because you all have access to the same platform. ReallyFlow for lead sourcing, the team platform for marketing and AI tools and all that. And by the way, if anybody here is not on the team, don't worry. If there's things you don't have, you can always email me, call me, shoot me a chat message here, and I'll give you my scheduling link. And there's ways you can accomplish that if you'd like to, without any without any major headaches. So, in any case, guys, if you guys could please give Christian a big warm welcome, and then Christian, you're welcome to start. I thought if we had a property we want to look at or a transaction, let's start from there. And because guys, what I want to do with this is make it like a
Yeah.
coaching session, like Dick, Chris, and I coach him. Do like one of those so you can see it live and see what he's doing in the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate the introduction, Gary. Usually our coaching sessions are me telling you all of the terrible things that have happened this week. So I'm going to try to share some of the good news and bad news equally. So this is the unadulterated version of like what my life's been. But I definitely have been battling back and forth with this idea of what I should be doing in my business and what I should be delegating out to a VA who I was using a VA. And just a few weeks ago, I realized that I'm using a VA for I'm creating more work for myself, so the VA has something to do. So I'm wondering, is there any sort of like show of hands thing we could do? But like, I wonder how many people in this room are using VAs and if they're finding success with it. Yeah, I know you have a lot of success with it, but I realized pretty quickly about myself that instead of delegating out the tasks that I needed to do, I was creating more work, and then I had stuff for my VA to do. And so I've kind of boiled things down. And yeah, Lisa, I see that you got your out of yours 3 months ago. So mine was just like a week or two ago. And I'm happy to be doing as much as I can with a hands-on approach, because when you're in a volume market, you have to create these connections. And I am going to go through like a list of my closings that I've had recently. But a lot of these are investors, and a lot of these, because they're investors, are repeat clients. And so I like to have, instead of having a TC doing all the paperwork, a VA who's doing all of the back end stuff. People sometimes have like inside sales agents and ISAs. So then it's like by the time it comes to actually talking to me, there's 6 different human beings that the client has at least talked to or in their mind has an idea of. And my entire approach now has been, what I'll do pretty much everything, which is good if you have the volume to, and the bandwidth to do that volume. Eventually, I hope that I maximize that bandwidth and I have to hire it out. But I don't think I'm there yet. You know what I mean? So that's been a new shift for me. And so I'm learning some things that I learned how to do them. I put it into a document. I taught the VA how to do them, and now I have to relearn how to do them again. So that's a little bit of a full circle moment, but it's not been bad. It's just, yeah. So as far as the systems I had, it was something where it's like, here's step by step. I gave him my logins for my social medias, so he could edit videos, post them, do all these things. At this point, I am excited to just kind of take it all under one umbrella because then there's no mistakes and there's exactly how I want to do it. And eventually I'll flesh out a more delegated system. But I realized with these closings, a lot of them, it was me doing all the work already. With social media, I had to do the editing anyways. You know what I mean? So until I have a more robust system, which is next, that'll be next thing for me once there's, I don't know, I feel like I could probably do 5 transactions at once. I wonder what everyone in the room thinks would be their maximum bandwidth to like close multiple deals at once. Cause I've done like 6, I think. And things start to get messy, you know? I start to get confused. I'm not a very detail oriented agent. I notice there's some type A's and there's some whatever type I am. And you know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
there's really good people with you know, spreadsheet based and data based and there's numbers based. I'm more of a big picture approach kind of person. When I meet clients, I have a general, and especially like a first cold call, I have a general script and I rarely follow it past 30 seconds because after 30 seconds, I'm now building rapport a different way than I would with another person. Even today, so I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, for everyone. And so I don't know how much you know about the Yinzer accent, but like today I was talking to a guy
Mm-hmm.
and could just total cold call maybe 4 or 5 months ago. Got his information via Really Flow. So the whole system I've been using is you get the data from Really Flow, you skip trace the data, and you call letters, text, emails. You hit them 4 different ways. Okay. This guy couldn't tell you exactly when we finally started to move what I call from prospect phase to the lead phase. Because not everyone's a lead on Really Flow, right? I'd say about 60% of the numbers don't function and they're not correct. And I mean, probably closer to 80, 90% of those people have no intention of selling their property. I'm only going after multi-units. I'm only going after properties where the it's not owner occupied. And so I know they're investors. So oftentimes the biggest kind of objection to overcome in that sales call is why would I sell it? It's making 3 grand a month or whatever that number is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a difficult one. We talk about owner finance. Pretty much that's the only way that I can get over on that objection is, oh, well, if I could get you that amount of money every month still, and I would take care of all the maintenance and we'd take care, you know what I mean? Then would you be interested in removing that from your inventory? And some people say yes. So that's been the journey thus far. The Really Flow system is great, and it's great feeling like I always have something to do. I really do have a grind mentality. I don't mind putting in the work and just whether it's calls, texts, and all that stuff. Again, for these recent closings, I'd love to. Is it possible to just kind of talk about in backwards chronological order some last closings that I did? Would
Yeah, if
that
you go, and you can share your screen if you want to bring up, like if you have an MLS listing of the last one, it'll show the property, the address, the dollars.
Oh,
Plus,
yeah.
it'll trigger your what we call your recall function. And I want to, while you're getting that up, Christian, I want to
Yeah.
go back to the VA. Um,
Sure.
so Kathy had a great question there. Welcome, Christian. Do you have a system already set up for your VA? I don't have a VA, but have always heard you should have a system to guide them and keep you from going crazy. And Kathy answers, absolutely. You definitely you want a system. Um, and I know the guy that brought Christian in, he was very good with systems too. And, he
Yeah.
had several employees and virtual assistants, but the there's a company inside, well, it's owned by an EXP agent, um, and Sphere Rocket is the name of the company. And I use them to hire the two VAs that I have now. I have three VAs, but I hired six of them altogether and kept two because you have to screen them, get used to working with them, and it takes time for all the warts to start to show up, you know? So literally it
Yeah.
comes down to you keep the ones with the fewest number of warts. And we got some great winners out of it, but that's just the way it is with that whole thing. But keep in mind, guys, this will lead me to the second part of what Christian was talking about. Um, Making sure you don't have work going on just for the sake of having work. Okay. It's a sneaky thing. It's vicious, is what it is. It'll sneak up on you, and you're going to find yourself thinking, I really don't want to let this person go because they've always done this, they've always done that. They're really good at this, and they do some good things, and I need to keep them around just for that. But what happens is, next thing you know, you've got 3 employees, and then you got 5 employees, and literally, and I saw this in a corporate world. I was in PNC Bank. It was ridiculous. They literally had a consultant come in and it had a meeting about how to have meetings. I remember talking to my boss the next morning. I said, you realize for most of us, we're looking at that and thinking, what a huge waste of company money that we could easily use to hire a really good engineer or technician. And he agreed. He said, it's just gotten out of hand. And they've had a massive layoff into that year because and it wasn't the company was making money, a lot of money, but they did the layoff because there was so much waste and overhead. And I'll give you an example. Verizon is a model of a company that every year they purposely remove the bottom 5% of their employees, and they constantly hire. Right, that's how they keep their um, they're at the top of the game. They're one of the best ones, and they do that
Yeah.
as a practice. I'm not. I know we could get into politics here, but there's nothing to do with that. It has to be. uh, The point is, you are your business, and when you grow, when you bring people in, you got to be responsible for your business and speak for your business because your business doesn't have a voice. Only you have a voice, and you're the owner, and everybody else that works for you, whether they're virtual assistants or U.S. employees, they work for your business too, right? And if you don't speak up for your business and stand up for your business and defend your business, they're gonna find work to do, to create work so that they keep their jobs. I can guarantee it. Okay, so keep that in mind. I'm being kind of harsh here because I've lived it. I've seen it a million times, and you have to deal with it. So okay, so Christian,
Yeah.
so back to the VAs. The VA, tell them about the letter because I want people to hear that what you did about the letter, and then that you know, then you realize, okay, wait a second, now I can do the phone call. But take us through that thought process because I still
Yeah.
teach people to use a letter followed up with a phone call. When the reality is, you're having a great success the other way.
Yeah, so the letter, I remember I got it from you. It's a letter that is very succinct, right? It doesn't say a lot. It keeps it pretty vague, but it almost seems like I'm representing a buyer who wants to buy your house to call me here, and that's it. And so I got some responses from that, and actually that's where if you can see my screen, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to just bring up this last one, which is how I got this lead, which is one of the best deals that I've had in a while. And it is because of this letter. But in the meantime, I remember thinking to myself, okay, the cost of a VA, the cost of any sort of stamps, and the cost of all of this wasn't really worth it. And so instead of using the letter after a small batch of marketing campaign because I was doing all of the lettering myself. I
Mhm.
was actually the one, putting together the stamps, folding the envelopes, which now again, I'm kind of pivoting towards is it worth using another third party website that uses like mailers? They have postcards for much cheaper um, than actual, stamps. And so I'm going to maybe shift that route and get the delegation of the letters. But again, this particular deal to walk you through, I got this seller's information from ReallyFlow. It went from ReallyFlow to a website that I found that's completely free. Sorry, I can't see under this. And that website is called Triple Search. Um, it's a little bit spammy. You make sure you have your ad blockers active, When you go
Mhm.
on, you can like click a button and all of a sudden there's something there. But it is beneficial to basically check the MLS wherever you're working, make sure the property isn't already listed with another agent. then move it into some sort of database and give them a call. The mailing address is right on the county record, at least. So I would kind of know what to do. I sent them a letter. The letter just said, "Hey, I have a buyer for your property." They gave me a call, and we approach it in two. At least I have been approaching it in two ways, where it's like, we all know what wholesaling is. We can do that. We can get you a cash offer. We can also get you more money. And I don't know anybody on this planet doesn't want more money. So it almost always ends up being a realtor conversation. But I've just noticed so much that now that I'm in like the trenches, clients of mine, sellers, prospective clients, they're so sick of hearing from people. They're so tired and beaten down because there is so much marketing going on. And so I just approach people in a very low pressure kind of way where, hey, let's meet at the property. Let's get to meet. After 15 minutes, I'll let you know a obligation free price analysis, something like that. And we give them two prices. Here's a cash price, and here is the on market price, off and on market. Okay. So these particular sellers, they're great to work with. They called me. I don't know exactly how long it took from the letter to get sent, but I don't think I only sent one or two. So $380,000 sale from the cost of two stamps isn't bad. But basically, that first meeting happened in October or November. Okay, I went to their property. They owned a property. They're renovating it. And I usually am showing up at people's renovation jobs. A lot of investors are too busy to go walk through the tenant occupied property with you. But hey, come on, I'm putting flooring down. Let's meet here and I'll show you this rental that'll be ready in a few months. And then we're talking about a different property or how I can help. So I remember seeing them, meeting them, and for about 2 months, I was simply helping them to find a lender and they were trying to do a cash out refi for this building. Okay, so they had no intention of selling it at the moment. I said, okay, I think this is the price. They said, well, we'll just refinance it and we need to get some tenants in. So these two out of these, no, 3 out of these 4 units, when I met them, were vacant. Okay, or one was on the way to being vacant. So I've got the listing rentals, rental listings, and I showed this one unit probably 20 times. They had a good amount of tenants and a good amount of people that wanted to rent it, but they were getting picky. But I helped them rent 2 of the units. Okay, so I didn't really go for the sale, and I think they appreciated that. I really was in a space where I was like, hey, this is taking a sale away from me, but here's a lender. That lender kind of dropped the ball, and they were like, we need another one. So I gave them a second referral for a lender. Then they were looking at their options. Hey, maybe we should sell it. And I went to the property 20 times before they said, hey, we want to list this place. You've been there 20 times. You helped us rent these 2 units, and you make, I don't know, I made like $600 getting the rentals. You know what I mean? Like, there's no money there, but it got me the listing. And so that was kind of the cool thing about this one. By the time it came to, I guess it was like early March, where they were ready to sell. And we had it on the market for like 4 days and got 10 offers. So maybe I priced it. Yeah, it was good. So, and again, I figured 360 to 380. Bridgeville is a place where it's an interesting town in Pittsburgh, kind of suburban, kind of metropolitan between the two. And it's definitely, there's like 20 new businesses in that area. So it's under development and people are flocking there. So, we literally broke the record for sales price ever in Bridgeville per unit. Nobody's ever sold more per unit sale price. So that was cool. And they were happy. And they're still looking at taking these proceeds now, fixing up other places. And just a small aside for myself, that is why my niche, when you're just starting, I don't know how many new agents we have in here. I'm assuming most people in here probably almost more experienced than me. I don't know. Do you think that's true?
It's a good mixture. We do have some newer people,
Yeah.
and definitely some veterans. I mean, I'm just
Well,
on my screen here, Lisa, Eric, um,
yeah.
there's, but I only seen the 5 right now, so there's 30 other people.
Right. Well, here's
Yeah.
the real thing. When I first started, I said yes to everything. I didn't care what the business was. I didn't care who the client was and if they were going to waste my time or not. And so for the new agents, I would recommend that. Just do everything. Get your wheels turning, get out there because now you're feeling momentum. It's such a personal game to be like, wow, I'm making no money. How do I stay positive? How do I get into this flow? And so the Really Flow program and getting leads for free is really beneficial to that as well. Just feeling like you're getting momentum. But
Mhm.
after years of working with rentals, buyers, sellers that are just one-off kind of sellers. I've really been trying to find a niche of investors. And the reason is after we sell this place, they're buying another, one, That's their goal is to upgrade their portfolio. I have a few buyers now who, as soon as we close, they're ready to go again. And that's really great for a transactionalist such as we are, for a commission-based transactionalist. As long as you like working with them, which after 4 or 5 closings, you'll yeah, I mean you'll do whatever, right? So it's been something where I really enjoy the investor field just for the reciprocity of these deals. And I definitely recommend that. And I would love to talk about how those Really Flow criteria can fit into, oh, these have to be investors, and these are investors that I like to work with. But yeah, that was Hickman, and again, we got. I mean, to be honest with you, I saw this property 20 times. Like I said, there's 4 units.
Mhm.
This one unit for 950 here. There's a 2-bed, 1 bath listed on the MLS. It was listed incorrectly. So that was my fault. I'll take full responsibility for it. I totally screwed up. But at the same time, whenever we had our initial, conversations, they gave me a spreadsheet or whatever we had as data transferring about, hey, how many beds and what's the rent on here? This place is not a 2-bedroom. It was a 1 bedroom with somebody living in the living room. And it had, a door that seemingly was a second bedroom. But after we were under contract, the buyer said, hey, I'm pretty sure this is a 1 bedroom in here. And our rent was 780. So I didn't get leases until we already listed it, had it, so it was a little bit of a mess. And I messed that up because I didn't verify this place. So instead of just completely backing out of that deal, um, we considered the cost of adding a second bedroom. My client said, well, we were going to add a second bedroom anyways, and actually turn the 1 bed into 2. To which I said, okay, let's get an estimated cost of that and just use it as leverage against these buyers. So we're already done with our title work. Like it was pretty much already in, and occupancy was done, and it just wasn't worth finding a new buyer. So I said, hey, let's just reduce our price. So they came in, well above list, and we closed at yeah, I think we took like
Yep.
$15,000 price reduction. So that was a little bit of a screw up. Definitely check your leases and check your
Mhm.
actual layouts before you get all excited. But again, I I messed up, yes, but like I showed them very obviously, like here, like they have signatures on things that says it's 2 beds and 950 for rent. So like
Yeah.
a lot of landlords I've realized don't even know how much money they're getting paid, which is incredible to me. Have you
Yeah.
found that experience to be true? Like I'm like, hey, how much is this rent? And they're like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
How's it
I had
possible?
a client. I had a client one time. He actually had properties he had forgotten about. He
Yeah.
just didn't have no organization, no structure, and you know, he's because I did all the research. I'm like, are you paying taxes on this stuff? I mean, it was a total mess. But
So I mean,
we went,
and that's what I'm realizing my job is. And I feel like that's sometimes when you're dealing with investors, they need an organization, they need a systematic approach because they don't have it or else they probably wouldn't even be talking to you. I mean, like the people that are well put together, they are licensed. You know what I mean? They're really well put together investors. They're like, oh, I'm
yeah,
just going to get my license just for those properties that I'm buying. They might not ever help a client ever out in their life. But
right.
either way, I'm glad to help people out. And that's really the goal of my entire career, is to just help people wherever they need it. So for these particular clients, they didn't need to sell. They needed help with a lender referral. And then months later, they needed help getting 3 units rented. And then finally it turned into a sale. So that was really good. And it shows that sometimes you got to do the BS work before you get actual sales. So that was cool. And again, that one came from Really Flow. 723 Allegheny River Boulevard was another one I did. These closed pretty much within 24 hours of each other, which was awesome.
Nice.
And this one is actually a mixed use commercial. So basically, we had here, I wonder if it's big enough to see. So basically, we had a 2-bed, 1-bath upstairs, and downstairs was a kitchen, a very small kitchen. We mapped it out to 811 square feet. And again, this was a client that Gary, during his introduction, he mentioned that I was brought into EXP and Gary's team and Honey Badger Nation and all of that through a previous mentor. Okay. So the story's worth telling, I think. But the previous mentor had this particular client, which was, hey, a referral to me. And he was like, hey, take care of this guy. He's like, kind of a big deal, you know, he's got properties left and right. So the client reached out to me and said, hey, I want to buy this property, which I would love to show you. Basically, there's a property, it's 3 units in an area of Pittsburgh that is related to the university, but it's kind of far off. It's called the Hill District. Gary, you probably are familiar with the Hill. We had paid $392,000 for a 3-unit in the Hill, which is, again, I was representing the buyer on this side, and that was probably a record-breaking sale. I mean, you can buy properties in the Hill still for $20,000, and they need fully renovated. But client reaches out to me and says, hey, I want to buy this place. By the time that I got that text, it was already under contract with another buyer. So he's a little upset about it. I just continued that follow-up through KV Core, put him into my CRM. Hey, I set him up on automated listings through the MLS so that he's getting sent other multi-units in the Hill District. And after, I think, 6 or 7 months, that investor kind of did a shitty flip, basically like a really not great flip, and then needed to cash out. And so they've relisted the property. We put in an offer and overpaid for it, but we really wanted the place. Okay. So that was deal 1 with this particular investor client, who then I remember before that sale, we actually listed for rent 723 Allegheny River Boulevard, just the commercial kitchen. And we listed it for rent, and he was like, hey, I want you to just prove that you can, work. And let me see if I can get pictures of the kitchen. This is all up at the upstairs. But yeah, there's your kitchen, the cooler. There's the kitchen, like kind of front area. But basically, he just had me go out and rent the place out. So I got a listing contract for rent. I think we wanted 1,200, got him 1,100. He was happy. And again, it was not glamorous work. I met 7 different people that really had no qualification trying to open up any sort of restaurant. It was like a brewery earlier. So that was frustrating. At times, I'm like, wow, this is so wasteful. It's not really close to where I live. And again, 5 months, I think, go by where this tenant is in place. And then I get a call, random call. Hey, that building you helped me rent, I think I want to sell it. Great, let's go. So it's like you're first in line. Like, he has other real estate agents. Then most of them do. But if you're the one that was already there 20 times, you get in the door. So for both these places, it started with a rental. And yeah, for this place, again, I quoted him a price much lower than what we came in at 240. He wanted to come in way higher than 240. So we were kind of battling back and forth with what a realistic price is. I was right because we closed at 205. And that was 205 cash, no contingencies. Like, it was a strong offer, but I think we took it after 4 or 5 days. And again, I'm here to guide my clients, right? I'm just here to help as much as I can. You can trust me or not. But I really did tell them, like, there will be more offers. Don't bite at this first offer. It's too low. We were negotiated it up about $7,000. If I remember, it came in at like 198 or 195. And we were like, we want 220. You know what I mean? Like, we're not even close. And then we landed at 205, cash, no contingency. Um, Occupancy inspection had a little hiccup on that one. There was just basically the occupancy inspection was late. We were butt up against a 30-day cash close. And everyone was like, let's close early. Like, well, let's just get this done. We want to close. Client wanted to buy something in California, 1031 exchange it into another property. He's like, hey, I got this property under contract. Now I'm eager to sell. Let's get it done. So we had to like install 5 smoke detectors, and it ended up being a big deal because nobody wants to go out as a professional electrician, right? And do smoke detectors. Like, so naturally I have a friend and he's an electrician, but if I ask him to do, I think he needed one GFI exterior, 4 smoke detectors, and one other thing. And it was like, dude, this is such a small bid. I was like, look, just get it done. Do me a favor, like after your workday. So yeah, we got it done. And that was a smooth sale kind of thing. And closed that one up just because, again, you get the rent. So yeah, that one was a referral through the old mentor. And again, you kind of have to, I really do feel like the reason that he was happy to work with me is because we built a strong rapport. Because both of us didn't really like the old mentor. Like, that's kind of what it was. He was like, well, I don't want to work with him. Like, I'm not in the business of stealing people's clients. So whenever that happened in my life, all the referrals went back to the old mentor and I just started fresh, which sucked. But this particular client reached out to me and said, hey, I want to work with you. I was like, well, why? It's like, well, he liked some Facebook post or whatever it was. Like, he liked some post ripping on somebody. I don't know, drama. But that was what happened, and it makes you money. So it was all about the follow-up. It was all about just being able to like keep sending properties for buyer leads. And yeah, we're gonna keep working together. That's, again, both these closings are just hopefully praying that they're like just the first of many, because the people seem to like me and trust me, and they can at least trust that I'll close the deal. Not all deals close, which is another great story to tell about 1431 Locust, which is next. What
Well,
kind of you want to bring up here?
there's a question from Kathy about did you get the clients from Relief Flow as well? So Kathy, this last one was a referral from his sponsor who brought it in, Dustin.
Yeah.
The one before that was from Relief Flow. So my gathering, Christian's like a mixed bag. You got some from Relief Flow and some from Dustin,
Yeah.
and just some on your own, doing your own stuff.
And to be completely honest with you, if you go onto realtor.com, there is a lead referral based program. They take 36% of your commission. And that's how I did like my first deals ever way back in 2021. And so it's not a great system and you get the worst leads from those, but that's how I've been getting a few of these as well. That's on here. If you see, it says, I have to get rid of this thing. If on here it says Op City, that's what is the app is called Op City. So I highly recommend not using Op City, but if you have no business, get it. You know what I mean? I don't even know if they're getting new accounts. They're kind of are taking the Zillow approach now, where they want you to pay monthly and then you get free leads. But I've kind of got grandfathered into being able to make some sort of referral based thing. And so I have a mixed bag for sure. To be honest with you, I was working a bit today on these really flow leads, and like some of those leads are worth $1 million. And there's a lot of them that are not worth any of your time. And so what I've been doing is realizing that like I'm still in that early part of the sales funnel. You know what I mean? It takes maybe years for some of these really flow leads to actually come to fruition, because I'll walk you through it. It's pretty simple. The first thing I do is I call people, and I don't know if this is something you want to try, but it works for me. I will call people. I know their first name. I have them on KV Core. Okay. I have their address of the property. I have their name, and I'm assuming it's them. I have no idea if I'm calling the right person. I'm cold calling. Okay. When I cold call them, I pretend like we're best friends. And I say, if we're going to role play here, Gary, I go, hey, Gary, it's Christian.
Uh, okay. Hey, hi, Christian. How are you? I
Hey,
guess.
yeah,
How do I know
yeah,
you?
no, I know this is out of the blue. I was calling about XYZ property, and I'm looking at possibly helping purchase the property. Is it something you'd consider selling? Something like that. Okay. But I
Okay.
approached them in a very low vibrational, instead of saying what most people do, hey, this is Christian Petroza with EXP Realty. You know what I mean? I pretend
Oh
like we
yeah.
already know each other, and at least I don't get hung up on right away. Now, after I
Yep.
say XYZ property, I do get hung up on sometimes, but at least sometimes people are appreciative of it. And so on the first call, that's all I do is I just try to say, hey, would you consider selling it all? A lot of people are going to say for the right price. And as soon as I hear them say for the right price, I know we have
Yep.
something to work with there, because then price is their only objection. And I don't really, I mean, unless I really am purchasing the property for myself, then I don't care what the price is as long as we can agree on it and it doesn't just sit dead in the water, which I have a few listings that are just dead in the water listings as well. You just got to list them for them to expire, for your clients to, after a 6 month or 12-month listing, talk any sense into them and say, we listed this absorbently high, not even close to realistic value. But that's how it goes. So then that's the day one. Okay. And then on KV Core, I follow up with people and I'll do something like, if I don't even hear from them at all, we never get that far. It'll be a month. If you and I just had that conversation and then I'm like, hey, so are these places rented? Yeah, they're rented. 2 are rented. 3 is vacant. Okay, what's your rents? I get a general idea of expenses and income, a general P&L. And then from there, without even walking through, I kind of know what it's worth, right? I can assume some maintenance will be needed to be done. I ask about big red flag maintenance items, and I have a general picture of the house before I go and see it. But on that first call, I'm trying to set an appointment, but nobody wants to go meet you on the first call. So I follow up 7 days later. I'll usually do about 7 days. Hey, we just
Mhm.
talked last week, and I'll do it again. Hey, Gary, it's Christian. And they still don't remember who I am. They have no
Yeah.
idea who I am, right? Even though last week they also didn't know who I was. And I'm like, hey, I just wanted to call. We talked about XYZ property. Is this week a good time for me to come out and check the place out? 15-minute walkthrough. Oh, I'm so busy. I have to do this, that, and the other. Okay, no problem. Then I'll do like another 3, 4 days. Hey, I know you said you're busy, but I think I have a buyer for you. You know what I mean? Something like that. Hey, I'm really excited. I have something going on. I'm actually going to be down the road. Something like that, where I usually tell them, hey, I really am excited to get started on this. I've been telling people, hey, I just got a closing with a property in that area, and I just had a closing come off of my desk, and I'm excited to prioritize you and prioritize this property, right? They're like, oh, well, he's actually producing, and I appreciate feeling important. So those kinds of things, anything to get in front of them. So this is all virtual work and all virtual, rapport building. And then after the third or fourth call, I'll finally get a meeting. And on that walkthrough, I just bring a book and write down as much information as I can. I walk through the place. I kind of start over with the whole, hey, what's this rented for again? And oh, this needs the X amount of work. Like, hey, when did you replace the windows? Just going through an entire checklist of the whole property. And then I send him some sort of price analysis. So that's the whole system that I've been using. And it is difficult to get people in front of you for sure with the really flow stuff.
And one important thing, guys, too, if you remember, Christian started off using the letter, with a virtual assistant in tow and follow with a phone call, but now he's just doing the phone call. Is that right, Christian? You're kind of drop the letter altogether and just
Yeah.
do the phone call now, or?
Yeah. I just am going straight to the call, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Because if you are on Gary's team, at least, Really Flow is paid for, your phone is paid for, KV Core is paid for through EXP. I'm talking about a $0 marketing budget. And that's the key, is the cost of entry, even to buy 500 envelopes, 500 stamps, and doing it yourself, which is 2 hours a day, 10-hour days, 10-hour weeks. That is too much of a cost of entry for some agents, and including myself. I was like, this isn't worth it. Now, of course, it probably is. In the long term, it probably is worth it to send some letters. I just would rather delegate the entire process out rather than sitting there and licking stamps for 2 hours a day, because your time is valuable, and it's pretty much more valuable talking to motivated sellers. And so that first 90% of the sales funnel on Really Flow, and now the calls that I'm doing, is just figuring out if they're actually motivated in any way, shape, or form. And usually they're not. So I just follow up with them. A lot of people are telling me, hey, market uncertainty right now, economic uncertainty. Call me back next year. Call me back next year this time. It's like, all right. So I got a bunch of calls already scheduled for February of 26. And I'll call them February, maybe even January. Hey, things are looking up, or what do you think, or where are you at in your life? And so these are not leads that are gonna pay you right away. It's just that none of them are. I mean, some of them are, but it's rare. Again, I had this referral here for 27 Chestnut, and this one was a friend of mine, 1845 Arlington. Both of those were just things that fell into your lap. And so, again, with a $0 marketing budget, the utilization of Facebook and social media and just showing all of your closings, as well as educating your sphere of influence through social media, and just simply creating little videos of what would it be? Market update or a property walkthrough, like a lot of faceless property walkthroughs. I know people are seeing them and they don't ever really think they're going to buy a house, but if they do, they're going to call me. And so all of a sudden you just get buyers through those kinds of things. Again, with a niche of an investor in mind, that might not attract investors as much. Eventually, if you build up enough video kind of attraction, I'd call it, let's say you have a YouTube channel with 8,000 subscribers and 600 videos and all of this. Well, now an investor might think, okay, well, you've built rapport already, yes, but I have 8,000 views on all my properties. You want to list this place with somebody who's 67 and doesn't know how to use YouTube. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where the social media and the YouTube approach, more and more people are gravitating towards that. I mean, it's not even just that. It's TikTok now. Everyone is on TikTok. TikTok's a big deal. And when I talk to agents who are, different generation than me, they're not putting anything on TikTok. And I think that's a missed opportunity. So and a lot of the sellers I'm talking to have never even heard of TikTok. So I'm talking about a future thing, but that is a kind of an approach that I'm using, is trying to create an attraction-based marketing now, where the online presence is a selling point in your pitch and in your listing presentation. You're like, hey, I have 3,000 friends on Facebook, 5,000 followers on Instagram. I got 20,000 followers across all my platforms, and everything gets listed. Everything gets posted there. So if you want 20,000 views on all your stuff, let's go. I'm going to get you more money than anyone else, And so it's a grind. That's a grind in and of itself. Post content every day. Show your business and your life and your personal. And I play music. I just do it all in one account. I don't really separate out the business and the music, which I know my trusted mentor Gary probably doesn't approve of. But I don't think people want to, like, most of my friends don't care about the real estate side of my life. They care more about who I am. And I post closings, and that's the biggest thing that gets people excited for me. Oh, congrats, did a closing. Like, that's cool. Because they saw me when I was 24 years old being a real estate agent, having no closings, and they see that growth, and then, oh, I'm proud of you. They don't need to know how horrible it was, you know what I mean? Like, and how grueling the concept is. They just see that. And it's not all real estate. I post some cover songs, and I post me on vacation or whatever it is. So I'm just giving a realistic outlook into my life and look
Yeah.
into my life. And it seems to help. People have been reaching out for sure.
Hi, I just want to take a moment to thank you for watching a recording of the Monday Night Live class. Hope you're getting a lot out of it. I'm sure you will. I wanted to let you know that, you can come to Monday Night Live whenever you want, but you can also participate more with the team. Why don't you set up a call with me, a one-on-one strategy call? I can go over everything with you, show you everything that we have to offer. For example, did you know that on our team, not only do you get your leads, we actually give you your own account on our lead gen system. So this puts you in control. You're not waiting on somebody to hand you leads. You get to pick the ones you want. Okay? Huge difference. We have 21 of our own proprietary marketing campaigns. They're all copyright protected. We're the only ones that can use them. Okay? The coaching is absolutely one-on-one. We got 3 coaches. We even have a 4th success coach that we have access to. Okay? One of left fewer than 100 in the world. Okay? One-on-one coaching. Right now the big problem is volume. We need more transactions. We need more inventory. I get it. Well, we know how to get it. Our team actually outproduces the national average by more than 2 to 1. So if you're struggling, don't do that anymore. If you're a solo agent, if you're a team, let's just talk. Smart entrepreneurs are always open to discussion. Learn what we have to offer, and then you can make an informed decision about staying where you are or moving on. You've got to decide, if you're not where you want to be, you've got to take action to get where you want to be. Let's see how we can help you do that. I look forward to talking to you. Click on the link, set up a call. And by the way, I'll see you on the next Monday Night Live.
Now, what about a couple things? So it sounds like the 2 you showed so far were investor properties, and both of them have indicated they ready like for the next one. Have you had others like that too? I mean, so far in your investor
100%.
business?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
So
amazing.
the investor stuff is great. And I'll tell you, most of these, so I have just going back to this list, there is a property called 322 Russellwood right here. And this is a repeat client of mine who, through them and their sister, so a little bit of a difficult situation. Basically, the client I connected with through a listing of mine. The listing, I believe, was an investment property. I think it was 4 units in New Kensington. And New Kensington, Pittsburgh is an area where, again, 4 units, I think we were at listing this 4-unit property for like 130. So just to give everyone an idea of what kind of pricing we're talking about. Yeah, it was, bit run down, all fixed up, probably worth 160, 170, but this property was worth 110 and I got him 130. So 4 units. This client reached out to me directly via Zillow or something along those lines, Craigslist, whatever it might have been. And they said, hey, can we see this property? I said, I'm sorry, it's already under contract, but I'll send you other properties. And so a lot of the buyers that I've worked with, repeat buyers, come from this sort of, it's like a viral listing strategy. If y'all are following Tom Ferry ever, I think he's coined that term of the viral listing strategy. You know Tom Ferry, Gary?
Oh yeah.
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 He's like, I didn't even click the video, but I just saw some ad he was running. But it is a valid listing strategy. You get 1 listing, and from there you get 3 buyers. From those buyers, you show that you're, hopefully helping them as investors, and eventually they want to list, and their listings bring in more buyers, and it goes viral from there. And so I'm either helping people sell or helping them buy and build a portfolio. And that's the nice part. But basically, 322 Russellwood's buyer lives in London, England. Okay. Called me on some sort of, however they did, not international phone. And we spoke in depth about how to help them begin investing in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Because in London, 100 grand isn't very much money. And so they were seeing properties here that, we have properties in some areas of Pittsburgh that are already rented through a Section 8 program. And they're 70, 75 grand, and they need a lot of work and they're needing fixed up. But it is definitely something where if they can collect rent for 3 or 4 years before they move out, and then they're able to kind of move into the next phase of it, whether it be a full remodel or whether it be just like a few things that need fixed up and get a new Section 8 and whatever their strategy is. But during our first closing together, I didn't know this, but we couldn't have the sellers sign in England. So we needed to use what was called some sort of US embassy in England to sign. And the US embassy, in order to get documents notarized there, was like months and months and months on a waiting list type of thing, right? So our closing was just dead in the water because my sellers live in England. And so our solution to this major issue, which of course happened 3 days before closing, like nobody, I didn't know, you know? So sometimes you just don't know the problems until they're there in front of you. And so our solution was, oh, we're going to reassign, we're the buyer. Okay. So as the buyer, 3 days before we're supposed to close with a lender involved, we reassigned the property, changed who the buyer was, and we moved the buyer into a LLC. And so the LLC had the signer and the guarantor of the LLC being able to be in New Jersey. It was the sister of the actual client. And now the LLC owned the property. So that was our solution. Naturally, now the sister said, hey, who are you? And can I? So they lived in Jersey, where again, money is different than like New York money is different than Pittsburgh money. You know what I mean? And so these clients reached out to me as well. And so through one kind of listing, you know, I call it a listing buyer, right? This is the listing buyer that I've listed here. Like it's a buyer that you get from one of your listings that reaches out to the agent direct. And through that, we've closed 5 deals together. So that's great. I can't complain. I can't complain about that. And they really do need me as as a helpful person in a transaction coordination sense, you know, because every transaction has gotten so messy and there's just no way around it sometimes, you know, like everything just sort of goes crazy. I had a lender on this deal. So this is 322 Russellwood's story. We'll just skip the one in red. The one in red, the guy showed up at the closing table and just didn't sign the seller documents. I've never had that happen. He has English as a second language. He was representing really a liaison to his mother, and his mother speaks zero English. And so as I explained the alt on Thursday, you know, we had a Monday close, Tuesday close or whatever it was. Thursday, we're going over our HUD or Alta. I don't know what you guys are using as like final numbers, you know, but I'm going through the final numbers and he didn't like it. And I was like, well, then we can't close. Like, I don't know what you want me to say. This is something that we are all on the same page about. None of these numbers are incorrect or can change. And I thought I had explained well how there's closing costs. You know what I mean? Like he just wanted his number. Here's the listing price. Here's what I want. It's like, that's not realistic. So I convinced him on that Thursday to at least, you know, that we're okay. I explained everything line by line by line by line. And mind you, this sales price was $31,500, I think. This was a $31,000 500 house. So it was not worth very much money. And it took a lot of time. And again, not really worth it because we didn't close. But basically, we showed up and all the explaining that I had done over the last 2 days over the Alta was all for naught. They just said, oh, I don't understand the Alta. We're not signing it. I said, look, you got to, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? And so that like destroyed me. That sucked. I've never literally shown up for a closing. I'm like posting on my story, taking my son off the closing, you know, like getting ready for a closing today in my suit, feeling great. And it was just like, oh, you literally get shit on so hard. So that sucked.
Did that actually close eventually?
No, we terminated.
Wow.
Yeah. And mind you, this was a deal where, again, like I said, I had in February, from like end of January to February, I did have like 5 transactions going on at once. Okay. And that was like the upper bandwidth that I can even do. I feel like 5 or 6 starts to get messy for me. I know other agents who are more detail oriented could crush out like 10 at a time, I'm sure. But for me, it's like 5 or 6. And so for this one, we were supposed to close a month before that fallout. And I naturally, I reached out to this client who ghosts me all the time, right? I would not hear from the client for weeks. And if, I don't know where you guys are at in the world, but here in Pittsburgh and probably a lot of the East Coast, we had really cold Decembers. Okay. And I remember it being like 0 degrees. And I reached out to all of my clients with all of my current listings and said, hey, is your heat off or your house is winterized? Did you, whatever you need to do, but winter is coming, for all the Game of Thrones fans out there. Um, and so I reached out to this guy and said, hey, your water's on. I'm here at the property. You need to turn the water off of this place or the pipes are going to burst. Naturally, I didn't hear anything. He didn't really care to reach out. Finally, I got oh, it'll be fine. Don't worry about it. And then the day before, I think 3 days before closing, the pipes burst. And there's water. There's 6 inches of water in the basement. The buyer went through for their final walkthrough and texted me a video of water just coming out of the pipes. And so another obstacle to overcome. We pushed back closing another month, fixed it. We got everything situated, and then finally didn't sell. So can't win them all. I've honestly been moved on mentally from it. It sucks. It sucks when that happens because you think you're making money and you don't. And so I've just been moved on and said, God grant me the peace to just not care so much because it was not fun. And that brings me to Russellwood, where again, there's always problems, but that's kind of what we did is we just overcome the problems. This one, literally for this one, the lender was having a child. And the lender literally 3 days before closing, I'm trying to get the lender to communicate with title and nobody's communicating because we're having to line up the final numbers. I have no Alta. It's 3 days to close. I have no idea how much cash we need to bring to close. No idea why, but nobody can get a hold of this lender. Finally get a hold of her. She's like, oh yeah, I had a kid. All right. Like you could have said something, So it's just a huge lack of communication because she was literally in labor. And so I had a second point of contact with the lender and they weren't answering. And it was just a whole shit show. So that was frustrating. We overcame it. We had to push back closing like 7 days and our seller was pissed. But again, these are the kinds of clients where once you're dealing with repeat clients, it's like we need to figure out and flesh out a system that works better than whatever the heck that just was because we're not dealing with that again. So I've been getting them lender referrals and explaining to them that I cannot do that again. It's just not good business. like we're telling people we're gonna sell and close on this certain date. We can't just expect them to push it back. Like a lot of closings get pushed back, but you can't just count on that. You know what I mean? And I feel like because the precedent with this particular repeat client, our first closing did get pushed back and the precedent now is that, oh, it's not a big deal to push closings back. But like one day we'll get bit on that for sure. But yeah, that's been a few of my recent things. Gets me excited talking about it. I appreciate everyone listening.
Yeah. And guys, if you have questions, I mean, please chime in because remember, he's one of us. He's an agent. He wants to invest. He's working with investors. He's getting repeat business. He's using Relief Flow and having success in his business. So, you've got somebody here that's willing to share with you his experience and the good, the bad, and the ugly. Things don't always work out. That's part of it. I love the fact that you mentioned some of the statistics on the lead, we won't call lead quality. And if the reality is, I'm not trying to make anybody look bad or feel bad or anything like this at all, guys. But when I was first starting out, I would use the term this was a bad lead, these were bad leads, that kind of stuff, because nothing was working out. But Christian, in his own explanation, and if you paid attention, he said, you know what? He didn't ever say, these were bad people or anything. He followed up with them. They could take a long time to develop. That's true with any lead source, no matter whatever marketing you're doing, whatever the lead sourcing is. You're going to have now business. Sometimes you get lucky. You call somebody up. They're like, "This is amazing. You happen to call today. I actually need to sell. How did you know?" That doesn't happen every day. It might happen 1 out of 100 times. You don't know what time's going to be the 100th time. Most cases are going to say no right off the bat. But if you ask them a question, Well, if you were to sell, what would you want to sell for? And Christian brought that up a different angle, but the same subject is, at what price would you sell for? That is an
Right.
excellent question because their answer is going to tell you if they're heads in the game or not. If they say not at any price, anytime, anywhere, you're done. But if they say, well, I'd like to get 380,000, you now know they would sell at 380,000.
Right.
Would they? Are they going to sell at 380,000? We don't know. The only way to find out is to get the property out there in the marketplace, and that's what I tell them. I say, well, I know you said you might not really interested in selling, but you know what? Why don't we find out? The best way to find out is, yeah, you and I can both look at Zillow and all this stuff, and none of that really matters. What matters is somebody tells you in writing what they want to pay for it, and you don't even have to accept the offer. And that's how we get
Exactly.
listings sometimes.
And I love that Gary, I remember a letter that I sent, and then the person literally wrote a handwritten response and sent the
Yep.
letter back to me. And they were pissed. And they said something along the lines of, I'd sell for like $1 million. Meanwhile, I think, or no, 1.4. They wanted $1.4 million. We looked at it. The house is worth 400 grand. So we're $1 million off. But I do like the idea of, and the way that I use KV core, it's like from sphere, not motivated at all, just somebody that's in your contacts, like has nothing to do with it, to closed. And in between there, there's the prospect, and then next to a prospect is an active lead, or a new lead, and then active lead. So prospect, new lead, active lead. I'll keep that person in the new lead status because they still want to sell. They're just really far away. It's like 1 degree closer, at least, to a motivated
Yep.
seller and a realistic seller. But at least they didn't say no.
Yep. Yep. And the thing is, too, is I learned this a long time ago. It's based in Japanese Kaizen uh, negotiating techniques. So
Yeah.
never get in a debate with a prospect. If they say I want 1.4 million, and you know in your mind it's only worth 400,000, you don't say, well, you're never going to sell for that. You just lost it right there. Boom. What if you said, you know what? Well, there's one way to find out for sure. Let's put it out there and see what happens. Because I also know this. I never presented verbal offers to any of my clients. I never did right from the beginning because I knew fundamentally it's not worth the toilet paper it's written on. That's a joke because it's not written. You're not going to put it on toilet paper. That's about what a verbal offer is worth. But so what I would say is we have to put it in writing for me to get any kind of response. I'm doing all the work. All you got to do is sign a piece of paper. Are you willing to at least do that? And then we can see what's going on. So I would get the offers coming in, then I could present them to the sellers. And I don't, sometimes they were half of what the seller wanted. I still present them because you know why? You'll find out how much that seller softens up by putting them a real offer in front of them with real money. You'll find out even the hardest cases will start to soften up, you know?
Yeah. It's
Yep.
funny how it takes a little time to talk sense into the sellers, I think. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But like whenever it's you telling a seller a certain perspective and just a market-based opinion, it's different than you and another buyer or another two buyers. That has a lot more gravitas and gravity. I think Catherine and Dutch were both putting chats into as
Yep.
far as Really Flows. So realistically, Really Flows is a system that I started using whenever I first joined EXP, so like 2, 3 years ago. But whenever I stopped getting these referrals, because I was doing a lot more referral based lead gen, which was just pay the referral, then pay my team, then pay EXP, making 40 cents on the dollar, which kind of sucks. But it was deals and it was business and I didn't mind it, something to put on your Facebook and celebrate. So then whenever I started working directly under Gary, which I think we're coming up on 2 years here, Gary. July will
Hmm.
be 2 years, I
Yep.
think. So that's crazy to me. It feels like
Yep.
yesterday.
Yep.
So I believe it was something close to 2 years ago, July, where I really started saying, hey, what's the systems here and how do I use this? And now that I have the data, how do I make best use of it? Which, Dutch, that's the question you have underneath. The best use that I've found is to target investors
Mhm.
and reach out to them in 4 different touch points, which was call, text, email, and letters, physical letters. Once you've done all 4 to these investors, and I would only do about 20, I think we were doing 20, like a 30-day marketing would be really 20 working days, assuming you're taking your weekends off. So out of 20 working days, if you do 20 leads a day, that's 400 leads every 30 days. Okay. So if you can find your search criteria in whatever market you're in, I don't know. Do we have time? Yeah, we'll do. I feel like you've done this in a class before, show how to work with those criteria, Gary. You know what I mean? So we don't need to go through that. But basically, whatever number you're comfortable with, just make sure you do it every day. And on day 31, you go back to day 1 people. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So day 32 ends up being the day 2 people. And after 90 to 120 days, what I was doing is using KV Core then and using tasks on KV Core to actually only speak with the motivated people and the people that are real and the people that actually have phone numbers that are realistically attached to that person. Because about 70-80% of them never get to that phase. We're only trying to help the people that want our help. It's the beauty of marketing. Is I tell people this all the time. I'm not in this business to convince people to do something they don't want to do.
Right.
I'm not here to convince you to sell your house. I'm here to ask 100 people if they want to sell, and the one person that raises their hand, give them your attention. It's an interesting thing, like marketing versus persuasion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
You know, it's interesting. The average conversion rate, you know, in gross from start to finish is anywhere between 0 and 3%, depending on the economy, the location, and other factors. That's really low. That's why people always try to be realistic and tell people, look, a system like Really Flow, a system like, you know, Freedom Soft, all those systems I have in the past, they're only as good as the county data. They're all going after the county data, right? Really Flow just happens to have real-time data aggregators that do it a whole lot better than the others. But that's why I say there really no such thing as a bad lead. I mean, I know realistic, yes, there are bad people that are horrible to work with, but you know,
yes.
a lead, you know, just because you have a 80% bad phone numbers, 20% are good. And in fact, if you look at what you get back from Mansa Khalil, if we use a person named Mansa Khalil, she
Yeah.
gives you all the numbers she can find, landline, cell phone. You're going to be 5, 10, 15, 20 numbers. We know to focus on the most recent cell phone numbers. That's where we start. But
Yeah.
it's just the data that they're getting, and you gotta go through all those because at the end of the day, you know, you're either going to pay a hefty referral fee to get ready-made business dumped in your lap, and guess what? They're not always as good as they make them out to be. You still have to work those leads.
Yeah.
Why not take that hard-earned money, build a system, hire a VA, right, to do the legwork for you, or do like Christian, he's now doing it himself. Keep all
Yeah.
the goodies yourself and work it, and just recognize the fact that you're going to have 100 conversations to get statistically at best 3 transactions. I like those odds, you know, quite frankly, now that I know
Yeah.
what I know, you know?
I tell people all the time who are not real estate savvy and they have no idea what I actually do for my job. And
Mhm.
I tell them all the time that if I have to talk to 100 people and get rejected 99 times to make my minimum commission, full disclosure, is 3 grand plus $500 broker fee, ends up being somewhere in 28, 29, depending on the cap, all that, right? But if let's just say 3 grand, right? If I have to get rejected 99 times to make 3 grand, I'll make 100 calls right now.
Yep.
It's very worth it when you really just think about. I know this is who's the real. There's another real estate, you know, those personalities almost, but he says like you got to chase the no. You want them to say no. As soon as I'm on the phone with somebody and I feel like maybe they're not that motivated, I use the takeaway, which is a sales technique I'm sure you're familiar with, right? The takeaway. Well, it just doesn't sound like you're really too motivated to sell right now. Oh no, yeah, I mean they don't want to hear that, but
Yep.
it's true. I hope they say, yeah, I'm not. I'm searching for the no. I'm hopeful that they
Yep.
say no, so I can stop wasting my time with them. Because I want they're
Yep.
more than 99% of them are part of that 99 that aren't worth your time
Yeah.
and aren't going to actually turn into commission and a closed deal. And like I said, I try not to focus on the money aspect of it. I'm trying to think that there's somebody else that actually needs our help right now. And they're out there and they're just not getting called. And instead you're on the phone with somebody who doesn't need your help. And your job is to quickly discern who's worth that and who's not. And if you're a new agent, then just take them all and go meet them all and go do it all. But it's eventually you're going to realize that the biggest power or the biggest asset really is your time. And so don't waste time on those other 99. You can focus on that one person who really does need your help. And those transactions are smoother. They're more grateful. They lead to better referrals at the end, and they'll actually close. The clients I've found really early on that if I have to drag a client through the mud, especially on the seller side, hey, can we go sign this seller document? Oh yeah, we'll meet here. And then they ghost you on the selling appointment. And then they ghost you on this. And oh, it'll be next week. They're not going to close at all. You're never going to see that closing because they're just so like, you're dragging them through the mud, you know? And so I've just been trying to like, honestly, I'm trying to attract and like manifest people that want to work with me. And even in the growth aspect, we talk a lot about, you know, getting new agents onto the EXP. Like, I don't want to convince somebody to join EXP. You know what I mean? I want to attract people that are excited to change their life through helping others. That's what we're doing here. We're not only paying our and making a living and supporting our families, but we're helping people while doing it. I feel like in corporate America, often, you know, like corporate America, often you gotta take advantage of somebody to make a living. The worse you give it to somebody, the better it is for you. We're in a totally opposite business of real estate. The more people you help, the more you make. So don't focus on the money. Focus on providing value. If it's literally just giving somebody a plumber referral, for me, it was lender referrals, 2 different deals. For me, it was listings for rent that I'm driving to a place 500 times. I definitely lost money on those. They paid me $500, but I spent that in gas twice. But I'm helping. You know what I mean? And so that's what I would suggest as my little sign off. I don't know how much time we have, but as a closing thought, really, the best thing to do is figure out, and through Really Flow, you just start talking to people and you say, what do you actually need help with? And if they say nothing, hang up and call the next person. You know what I mean? Somebody's going to say, I actually could use an electrician. My electrician just bailed on me. I'm in the middle of a flip. Oh, okay. I got 3 electricians. This guy's the cheap guy. This guy's the expensive guy. You know what I mean? I always tell people, I'm like, this is the guy you want but he's not going to be the cheapest. You okay with that? Oh no, I need something cheap. All right. This is a cheap guy. He'll be out next week, but you're probably going to bring your house down. No, I don't say that. But you know what I mean? Like it's good to provide. Anytime I'm giving referrals, I like to make sure that they know that I'm very well connected. And that's a really good way to win people over. It's like, hey, I have 6 referrals. Which one do you want? You know? And immediately they're like, oh shit. Like, you know Pittsburgh. You know what I mean? You know your market because you know the contractors, you know the plumbers, you know the lenders, all that. It's a very powerful tool to provide value. And then just the last thought, I really wanted to get this out. We never really came upon it. But a lot of these Really Flow deals and leads, I mean, they're going to turn into buyers. And they're going to be excited to buy. Like a lot of them, I call them cold call. First conversation is, hey, do you want to sell? No. Okay. Are you still looking at adding more to your portfolio? And if they say yes, then all of a sudden, I'm just providing value by showing them these market updates. Hey, there's 10 listings. Here's the multi-units. I pretty much strictly do the multi-units because, again, it's investors. And so after a year of them seeing my name connected to their email and putting stuff, eventually what you want, the best thing that I've really recently ever heard is, well, you're my realtor. As soon as somebody says, quote unquote, my realtor, like you are in. You know what I mean? If an investor says you're my realtor, you're in. There's money there. And just continue to help them and you will continue to get paid.
I tell you what, you hit so many golden nuggets there. I mean, and one of the things I've always asked people to do whether I teach, you know, I mean, I have students still call me up, you know, 20, 25 years later. I had one call last week about he needs to sell a property
he got on a contract with one of the We Buy Ugly houses or We Pay
Yeah.
Cash for houses, and he said that I had to get a bad deal, and I hadn't lived there in a long time. But I said, "Can you send me the contract?" And I told him, I said, "Tom, this is a horrible deal. This is one of those they're gonna not buy your house. They're gonna sell the contract that they get in with you to buy your house to somebody else for probably 20,000 bucks, and then that person's gonna buy your house, and you're gonna get raked on it." And it was, and of course, it was he'd already signed it, so it was too late. And I said, "Just hang in there. There might be a way out. We'll put our minds to it. Let's see if something goes wrong because they're famous for not closing. As soon as the 30 days is up, you cancel it, move on." But in any case, what I'm getting at is this: is uh, most of the people that I worked with, I either met them through the local investor groups or I invited them to join so they can meet other people, including all those contractors. I knew
Yeah.
every electrician, plumber, roofer, window person. So I always tell the people that I teach in class, particularly people on my team, always join and go to your local investor club meetings. Not you're not gonna get a transaction every single time you go. It's maybe once a month, once every 2 weeks or something. But you're
For
going to
sure.
meet the contractors. You're going to meet the lenders. You're going to meet the inspectors. You're going to meet the insurance people. You're going to meet everything you can imagine, and of course, other investors, right? And just tell them, hey, I'm sure you've already got agents already working with you. I'm not trying to get you to get rid of them. I just want you to give me one shot. You give me one shot to prove myself, and you'll have somebody else in your quiver of agents. And sure enough, I'd win them over every time. And then you know, I mean, the repeat business, it, like you said one time, Christian, if you had 10 of the guys, like the first two guys you mentioned, if you had 10 of them, you'd have enough money coming in to have a really nice living, you know? So,
Yeah, no, it's funny to think about. I met somebody yesterday out and about, and they were doing life insurance as their career path, selling life insurance. And I'd
yeah,
asked him, I said, how many clients do you actually have to help and provide every month? Right. And he's talking about 1,500 calls a day, hoping to get 1,500 down into one client a day, 20, 30 a day, 30 a month. And you really don't need to have that many repeat investor clients. You really don't,
yeah,
even 10. I mean, for my 10, 10 would be like 5 deals a month for me. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
that's right.
Like
Yeah,
probably, you know what I mean? That's maybe four a month. And when I set out a 2025 goal, that goal was 24 transactions. So we're going to surpass that for sure.
yeah,
But it's because, again, we want to do two a month. Let's get it to three. You only need like a few repeat clients, and then other people fall in, post all your stuff and use your
yeah,
sphere, and your friends and family will be like, you're crushing it. Oh, wow. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And then they'll start to turn. But yeah, the repeat clients and the investors is definitely
Oh my gosh.
bread and
It makes it so
butter.
much easier. And guys,
Yeah.
the other thing I want to mention is Christian mentioned he sets them up on the monthly market update in KV Core. And that's one of the things we've always said too. The thing I like about Really Flow is instead of sending out thousands of postcards, casting a wide net, it's more of a highly targeted approach. It's like going from using a shotgun to using a high-powered rifle. Like
Sure.
here's a good example: deep sea fishermen. They don't just go out there and say, "Oh, I wonder what I'm going to catch today." No, they know exactly what they're going for, and they bring the exact rod and reel and bait and hook. The fish finder, they know what the fish looks like on a fish finder, the kind they want, like tuna, versus a blue marlin, and they go to exactly where the fish are. They give the fish exactly what the fish wants, and they reel them in. That is way easier and much more ecologically sound than casting a wide net. So, Really Flow, guys, helps you dramatically reduce your effort, reduce your costs to 100 people versus 3,000. Let me ask you, let's do a poll here.
Yeah.
Raise your hand if you would rather um, market to 3,000 people, raise one hand. If you would rather market to 100 people, raise both your hands. You know, I'm telling you.
Everybody's hands better be up in the air, Gary.
Exactly. Exactly.
You
You
know
know,
what? The market update, you just made me think of something we didn't even touch base with. I don't know what everyone's MLS setup is, but I'm assuming almost every MLS has this access feature where, as well
Mhm.
I'm also setting up what I call an email blast. I don't know what you call this, but it's automated emails
Mhm.
that fit a certain search criteria, right? So just to play around here, if I'm looking at multi-units within 10 miles of downtown Pittsburgh, and then I go into an active status, we're at 314 matches right here. I want to get that down to like 10. Let's say my client's looking at 180 to 220 as a price. Okay, we'll
Mhm.
take that to 200 just so it's not too many. So then I have 27 results. Here's the properties, and I'll go through these and I'll send them these ones. Okay, the first email I send is this. This is what's available. Properties available as of 428, right? And I'll send them that with the date. That way, when they call me on 430 and 3 of them are sold, they're not pissed. Because that happens all the time. I'm like, look, it says right there it's 428. They're gone. Like, you want to move quick? Let's
Yeah.
go. But the cool thing
Yep.
about almost every MLS, I'm sure, is if I search or I select all, I have the ability to click this save feature and create a new automatic email. So now any property that's listed, as soon as it gets listed, will get sent. I think I have myself in here, so I don't, yeah, I don't want to like blow up a client over nothing, but I'll just type in email blast properties within 10 miles of downtown, 180 to 200K. And that's the
Yep.
subject line of the email blast. You can set it, for me at least, to go as soon as possible. So as soon as it gets listed, it gets sent. But also we have the ability, if your search is super broad, you don't want to blow them
Mhm.
up 6 times a day. So you can just do a daily and skip Sunday. You know what I mean? Just do
Mhm.
Wednesday, Friday, whatever it is. But I do
Yep.
ASAP all the time because then it's exciting. Hey, this just got listed. And
Yeah.
IBCC, I think it's called. Yeah,
Yep.
hold on. Let me see. Wherever it
Line
is.
coverage. Yep.
Yeah. Well, it won't work for me because it's already sent to me. But right here, if it was
Uh,
another client, it'll let me CC myself. So they all
mhm.
get sent to me, and every day I'm on my email already, hoping that I got a new offer in for a listing. And I'll
Mhm.
see a property with this person's name on it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that actually is a really good deal. And it's fitting exactly what they want. So then I'll take a screenshot of that email that's on my phone. Hey, this just
Yep.
got listed. What do you think? And now we have a conversation and I've provided value because
Yep.
I'm quick on the gun and I see a brand new listing. And, that's again, most of those really flow clientele. I really do think that they're going to tend to buying first and you win them over with showing how active you are and how excited you are and just create rapport. Just ask them about their life and a contractor here and a pain in the ass flip here. And once
Mhm.
you've won them over, then they will list you with you. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, but you got to kind of work around it. Don't go right for the kill right away. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
these email blasts, along with the KV core, we talked about
Yep.
KV core
The
having
tasks.
the KV core tasks,
Yep.
yes, but I was talking about that monthly marketing. You do a
Yeah. Yeah.
monthly marketing
Yep.
and you can just select an area, select a zip code, I think it is, and that's really beneficial as well. So I think you
Yep.
have to select clients, but yeah, this is where I've been working out of. It's helpful to work KV core. Really, flow comes in. I just have KV core coupled with a sort of Google spreadsheet, and at
Mhm.
this point, as without automating anything, you just get really flow. You turn it into a Google spreadsheet and you just call the spreadsheet. And as soon as people actually answer the phone, then you add them into your KV core, add contact, follow up with them. Now they're in. So you got
Yep.
43 more tasks to do. Behind,
Yep.
behind. Yeah, that's the thing. There's always something to do. See, I got to call all these people. I'm behind, but that's how it
Yep.
goes. They'll get to it.
It's amazing if you've accomplished this in a relatively short period of time in one of the slowest, lowest volume markets in 30 years. So, guys,
For
I
sure.
I really hope you're taking this to heart. I mean, Christian's one of us. I mean, you can go to workplace and find him on there.
Yeah, I'm
I mean,
here.
I'd love to have Christian. I know you come to class already on your own frequently, but I'd love to have you back from time to time and do one
Yeah.
of these. I call it like a live coaching session, and everybody listens and learns and benefits. It just,
I love it.
show of hands, guys. Who here actually got something tonight that can help you, like a golden nugget? Isn't that amazing? From just a regular, real live person,
Oh
you know?
yeah. I
So,
love that. I also just posted up
yeah.
in the chat.
Okay.
Oh man, some people don't have their cameras on, Gary. I can't believe that. I thought I was gonna be able to see everyone's face. I just flipped through. But for real, I just posted in my Valerie, appreciate you.
Yeah.
I just posted my Instagram. So if anyone wants to follow me and reach out, I'm posting there about, the successes and failures as well. But let's just stay in touch also. I'm excited to have a bit of
Yeah.
community. You know what I mean? There's a bit of good community here. And I see some of
Yeah.
y'all all the time. So let's stay connected on it. And Gary, I really
Yeah.
do appreciate you, man. Appreciate the
Yeah.
systems, appreciate the guidance, and appreciate you letting me come on and just kind
Well, I'll
of
tell you what.
ramble on. I love sharing this stuff. Gets me pumped.
Yeah. Well, I'll be up there. I think I'm arriving on the 15th of May, and I think I leave on Memorial Day Monday. But
Oh
but
yeah.
you're still playing? You got any gigs coming up?
So yeah, realistically, I did a whole thing where musically I had some gigs and then I bought a music studio. So I'm
Okay.
actually building a music studio right now from the ground up and
Mm-hmm.
creating a new sort of sound from that. So
Mm-hmm.
there's no gigs currently, but I wonder if you'll be around. There's a thing called Millville Music Festival where they turn the entire town of Millville into like 20 venues. So you would definitely get a kick out of the going to that. There's going to be like 300 local bands or something. But we'll definitely
Oh
have
yeah,
to grab coffee and see each other. Gary and I never
absolutely.
technically met, for the record. We've only seen each other as screen
Yeah.
buddies.
Even though I went to Dustin's office, taught a class, took everybody to lunch, but you know what? I will go to Millville because
Yeah.
I used to own probably 20 some odd units there. And even during the big floods in 2004, it was a huge wipeout, but we came back stronger than before, and it was amazing, made money off of it.
Millville's wild. People
Yeah.
love Millville, and I remember whenever, maybe not 2004, but a little bit afterwards,
Yeah.
we only had one place to go in Millville. There was no commercial district at all in this town.
Yeah.
And now they have so much going on. It's like really
Yeah. Yeah.
coming up. And I don't think investors really care about the whole flood thing. I really think they're overlooking that
Yeah.
and just getting better insurance or something because the money's pouring in there. So hopefully you
Yeah.
kept some of those
Good.
20, Gary.
Well, I remember
Hopefully you did.
the
Yeah.
one venue was an old church, and I can't remember the name of it. It was an old church. When you go and it's away from the river, up close to the hill, but I can't remember the name. Uncle Louis or something. Anyways, it was, and we used to see a lot of bands there. My son played there in his band.
I love
So,
it.
but let's definitely connect. We'll get together. And hey guys, any final questions or thoughts? I mean, granted, you can see Christian again, um, but if you could just say thank you. I see a lot of the chats are here. Christian, just saying thank you.
You guys.
You did, man.
Wow.
Thank
Look
you
at
so
I want to
much.
say
this.
thank you,
Daps for
Christian.
Christian. PF, what's
Yeah,
up, man?
yeah,
I was just saying thank you, Christian, and now I definitely want to be looking into places in Pennsylvania.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
come on down. Honestly, I help a couple out of state buyers. If you're trying to be another one, get my number.
yeah,
Let's go. Always happy to help. Be your eyes and ears here. It's crazy. I mean, again,
yeah,
like I was saying, Millville's a kind of borough. It's not more than 15-minute drive from downtown Pittsburgh.
yeah.
And Gary, I'm assuming when you had those 20 units, you were getting places for like livable. How much?
Oh, good Lord,
60?
I got a 4 unit for 50,000 one time. Added a fifth unit and sold it for like 100 and something. And the thing is in hindsight, I've mentioned this to him before, Christian. In hindsight, most of what I sold was because divorce and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I regret selling every property I've sold. I never regretted buying a property. I got a lot of gray hair from properties that gave me way more headaches than I bargained for. But a thing in real estate is it's so forgiving as far as commodities go. It never goes to zero. You've always got something there. I don't care if a tornado comes and blows it down. You take your interest money and run or build it back up again. But
Sure.
the fact is it always goes up given enough time. You know, the last recession, I've never seen the market go down until that recession. Most markets are not really led by real estate. They're actually resurrected by real estate, right? And the values keep climbing over time, and your mortgage gets paid off. So you got equity building up, your equity pay down from the mortgage being paid off. You got rent coming in, you get depreciation. Then now you become own your own bank. You can get a business line of credit against all your equity and be your own bank. That's exactly what I did, you know. But I will tell you guys, if you have clients looking to buy, invest, Pittsburgh is still. In fact, there was an article that went out. Lisa found this. Lisa, you remember the article? It was like 2 weeks ago. You found it. Something about it was AI answers something about Pittsburgh being one of the most, you know, would be one of the best, most sought after markets sometime in the future. Something like that. I forget the exact wording. We had to deal with the Mount Washington property that we were working on with Stephanie.
Right. I'm wondering if that was part of the research that I did that I sent over for her.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
yep. And it was.
So it's an interesting thought. I'm currently in Tampa. Honestly, I was taking a little break. Drove down to Tampa and chilling at the beach for the next few days. And I have a friend here who was talking about how there's no room left for growth in a lot of cities, including Boston, where I visited recently as well. I feel like that's what happens is sometimes you have not enough room for growth. You know what I mean? And the investors kind of already are capped out. There's a lot of room for growth in Pittsburgh. There's a lot of areas where like you could buy the whole town. You know, I'm talking Homewood, Duquesne, and those are places where I don't really think you want to invest right now. But like, it's an interesting thought where there's so much work to do here, and I'm just grateful for the opportunity to actually be helping the overall Pittsburgh rising up. You know, because there are communities out here that are severely downtrodden, and then there's other ones that are next door. It'll be like a 5-minute drive, and all of a sudden it went from being really like, hey, like a war zone as they call it in the industry, you know, like the war zone, to $1 million per unit. And so we're seeing that now more and more. And I'm excited to be a part of it, you know, and I'm excited to help people also be a part of it. So let's connect.
Okay. Well, listen, guys, I appreciate everybody participating tonight, especially if you're a guest. If another agent invited you, we love that. This is one of the few places totally open. Come as you are, learn, ask questions, totally free. And you'll hear us mention EXP because a lot of us are EXP, and we're not here to get you to switch your license. I will tell you, I will give you a plug. I love having commission income, revenue share, and stock. And I've been at some pretty awesome brokers. I've built my own before. This was the first one. It's been a huge boon. I'm not going to mention the others because they're all great at what they do. They wouldn't be if they weren't. This one just happens to be, really the next step in the evolution of our industry. And we're thank goodness we're at the right time. I take the stock money, I pull it out maybe twice, 3, 4 times a year to use that to invest in other things. I wouldn't have that if it wasn't here, and I don't even have to work for it. Totally free, So, in any case,
and Gary, really quick, you forgot to mention that we keep 100% of our commission after we cap. So
absolutely.
we don't even have to pay EXP on every deal. You only pay them for the first depending on your commission rate, the first $2 million of sales. So that's huge.
The average is 6 transactions you'll cap out. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. So
16,000 cap is nothing for what you get. But the other thing too is if you had Icon, you even get that back. You get it all back to you in stock. Is amazing, So,
love that.
Yeah. Hey guys, it's good to see everybody. Make sure you set up your one-on-ones. I know the next couple of days are already full, but remember you got to schedule 2 days in advance. That's how the scheduler works. You're not going to see anything within 48 hours, but 48 hours in advance up to 2 weeks out. So get the calls in next week. Let me tell you who's going to be on next week. Me. I'm teaching next week. So the last time we talked about analyzing flips, which was that last week or the week before? But in any case, next week we're going to talk about analyzing rentals, and then after that, I think it's the 9th or the 12th. Dave Kimbrough, you're going to like him. He's from Grand Junction, Colorado, and we're like twins, brothers from other mothers. Wait till you meet him. On the 19th, I'm going to go over wholesaling. It's coming up more and more again. So we haven't gone over it in a long time, and I thought let's just go over it from start to finish, wholesaling, what it is, what it isn't, how you can participate as an agent, how you can participate as a wholesaler yourself if you choose to do that, the legal right way, right, the correct way. Um, so these are ones you want to invite your friends to, other agents, investors, what have you. I mean, that's what this is all about. So I just want to thank you again, Christian, man. This was totally awesome. We'll see you guys on your one-on-ones. We'll see you next class. God bless you and your loved ones. If you want to hang out with Christian and maybe he'll play guitar for you, come to Pittsburgh. You know.
For sure. Come on down. The shows are only, well, I'll play for free. All
There you go.
right. See you, everyone. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Good night, everyone.
Thank you for watching this episode of Monday Night Live. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and go to realestatewithgarywilson.com to join our community and start building wealth today.